Hey everybody, I'm Brennan, and I'm joined today by Larry Bird. And I wanted to talk a little bit about how to stay positive, just in general, about things when they are hard. Um, Specifically, how to deal with people in your life who are close to you, who might not be against who they are, but they don't validate it. And this is really hard for me to talk about because my family situation is in this space. And it's really hard to talk about without feeling like I'm kind of putting my family on blast, which is not what I'm trying to do. My parents are wonderful people, and they're hilarious. I enjoy a lot of things about them, and I do have a better relationship with them now than I have ever before. That being said, they still use my name and my birth name, my non-lived name, and they still use my pronouns, like my feminine pronouns. They visited me, and it wasn't something I think they recognized that it would have been awkward to do so in public, but it's still jarring to hear privately, just because. Are you done? You can keep talking. Because they're just not things I hear in my life anymore. Hi. It's been a huge challenge for me, trying to navigate this relationship with my parents, where I haven't necessarily been disowned or anything, but they don't really understand. And my family's very, very, very Southern, so some things, it's not malicious. Some things just culturally aren't talked about, and sexuality is one big one. It's not something that it's something that's private. It's something that, and if I were gay, if I were like a cis gay person, I think I would be perfectly fine with it not coming up. I mean, I feel that way too. I'd rather it be private. Um, but when you're trans, there are aspects of being trans that become something that does have to be asserted more publicly. Um, like ideally, I would like to have a private existence and just exist, as like I've said before in videos, as a trans man, and not have to have that be explained. Now that I'm no longer in such an androgynous space as I was in before, I'm able to do that. I'm able to have a very private life as myself, and it's wonderful, and that's what I've wanted. But it's still hard to be the fact that have to be the elephant in the room with my immediate family. Um, it's not something I resent necessarily, but it's weird. It's awkward. It's like, is no one really going to talk about the fact that my voice is totally different and I have facial hair? Like, can we just at least make a joke about it or something? Like, just to break the, it's like it's just funny. Like, I mean, I'm not too broken up about it, but it's taken a long time to be in this place about it. Um, it was really hard for me for a while, and it's taken a lot of yes, you're pretty. It's taken a lot of radical acceptance. I've learned through AA mostly, and through DBT as well, that I can't control other people, and that was a really hard thing for me to swallow, because I'm the kind of person who's a control freak, and I think I can control everything from people's reactions to how they feel to what they say. I think I just have control over all of it. Um, and it was really hard for me to come to terms with the fact that I can't control how my parents handle this, because, and like, as much as I had negative feelings about how the show Transparent focused too heavily on how a transition affected the cis children, I feel like we haven't moved far enough into a space of transgender visibility that it's okay to make that kind of show. But I do think it's one worth having, because I've watched in my own life my transition have an effect on my partner and have an effect on my family, and it's not a negative effect, it's just an effect. Like, it changes the dynamic of those relationships, and I think that is worth exploring, and in art and stuff. But I don't think, yes, good parrot. Hey, hey, hey. Oh, come here. But I do think trans people need to tell their own stories a little bit more before we can do that. Um, but yeah, it's taken just a lot of radical acceptance to kind of just meet my parents where they're at, and be okay with it. And I'm okay with a lot of things. Like I've said before in here that my having been raised as a daughter, as opposed to my brothers, greatly informed who I am. My having existed in a girl space as a child has greatly informed who I am today. So, like, I mean, my parents never raised a son, so, like, I'm honestly okay with continuing to exist to them as their daughter, because that's who I'll always be to them, and that's fine with me. But yeah, I think, like, being trans just in general requires a lot of radical acceptance, which basically means accepting things that are, like, kind of impossible to swallow. Let me, like, look up a better definition of that, because I feel like that's not... Bird is so loud. Yeah, radical acceptance is kind of a Buddhist thing. Yeah, it's just kind of accepting things as they are. Hold on, I need to, like, wring this bird's neck real quick. Excuse me. Hi. You can either come in that room with me and be quiet, or you go back in the cage, okay? Come on. Let's behave. Come here. Do you want to be a good bird? Come here. Oh, fine. Brat. What's being such a brat? These tickles. Okay. So yeah, just kind of taking things like is where they're at, like kind of meeting things where they are in the present moment, and accepting that, and then just like showing up with love. I think that's another important thing that trans people need to cultivate is it's just continuing to show up as the person you are. Like I think my own relationship with my parents dramatically changed when I got sober, and when I was honest with them about having had a drinking problem and getting into recovery, and I just started showing up as who I was, and like they started to do things like loan me money, and like my mom and I talk about emotional things, which is a relationship I wanted to have with her for a really long time. And these things are happening organically. I'm not calling them, freaking out and being like, why won't you, accept me for this, or why won't you talk to me about emotions, or da 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 da. Like I just let it happen when it does. And it gives me so much more peace of mind, as opposed to trying to force my will and what's going on with me on other people. I just kind of let them, give them the time and space to come to terms with things. Yeah. Because, like, I don't know. I mean, I would like to think that if I had a child, I wouldn't have gendered them in the first place, just because of my own experience with it. But it's inevitable. Like, that's a big reason I don't want children myself, is because gender was really painful for me, and I don't want. And even though my parents were very girl positive and didn't raise my brother or I very differently as young children, and never told me I couldn't do certain things, gender was still very confusing for me outside the home, and I wonder if my own child would be sensitive to that, and I don't know. Um, I forgot where I was going with that, but I don't know. So like, I think it's inevitable that you have expectations for your children, and when people don't fulfill expectations in any space, it hurts, and it's like it's jarring, and like what I see, I mean, and this is my perspective, what I see going on between my parents and I is we're both. Yes, I know, I know, I know. You won't talk now. You gotta talk. You done talking? You done? We're both in a space where expectations aren't being met, and we're trying to cope with that. Like, their expectations for the person I would be, that hasn't been met, and it is what it is. I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't know if they think it's a bad thing or not. I don't know. Like, I haven't asked. We haven't had those conversations. I am letting them do that on their own, on their own terms, if they choose to, and that's hard. That takes a lot of grace that I didn't think I was capable of having, like, at all. and it really shows that I'm in a better place now. And also at the same token, like, my expectation is that parents would just, adapt. And that's not a realistic expectation. Everybody's different. Um, yeah. Uh, it's just showing up with love, and I just show up as who I am. And I used to censor myself from my parents a lot, but I'm trying not to anymore. I'm trying to just be me, and, they like, I don't know, I think they like me. I think we have good conversations. I keep it simple. Movies, jokes, what's going on, like, just I genuinely enjoy the relationship we have right now, and I hope that it will, as I continue to show up as who I am, as honestly as, I'm a guy. Like, I'm not gonna come into your house and put on a dress and all this stuff, and um, I think eventually they'll see that, I'm sober now. I'm doing really well. I'm in a healthier place than I ever was, and yet I'm still trans. Um, I I also think there's. I mean, this is kind of with my own family. I think there's an element. Both my parents are very gender nonconforming. More an interest than anything else. Like, my dad really likes the theater and the arts, and has a hard time relating to other men on that point. And my mom's really into. She was a huge tomboy, and she's really into building furniture, and she's really outdoorsy, and hates shopping. So I feel like, to a certain extent, both of them have had experiences within their gender roles that they don't really fit the typical role for that. And because, when I first came out to my mom, I got a really, beautiful letter from my dad about how strong women are, and how, he's not a masculine guy, and that's okay, and it's okay to be a masculine woman. Plenty of women are masculine. My mom has a lot of masculine qualities, and it's like, yeah, I know, Dad. Like, I know women are awesome, and I've been a masculine woman for a long time, but it's not me. Like, it's not. And, I had to explain to him briefly that, like, you're not in my head. You don't have my body. You don't have the relationship between my body and my brain that I do. And that's where it is. It's not, like, it's not about my gender role or the presentation. For me, it's absolutely about the body. And if I could have continued being a masculine woman, I would have, but it wasn't me. Um, and yeah, I just choose to have faith. And the fact is, I continue to be honest and just be myself. Um, that blessings abound. And just showing up with love, and, any, like, I mean, I've lost some people in my immediate family, because I don't feel welcome, and it's hard to be called delusional when, like, I'm less delusional now than I ever was. Like, I was, like, drunk for a really long time. It's like, okay, so it's just kind of funny. But yeah, I mean, I know it's a tall order that trans people need to rise above everything all the time. Um, but I think it's important for our sanity, and it really is just the most effective thing, to deal with people that you're expected to have, like, a loving relationship with, which is an expectation around family. To just show up when you can, and just show up without wanting anything from it. Um, I mean, showing up is a concept I got in AA, because, like, and that's supposed to, like, when you're an addict or an alcoholic, you really choose to spend time with people and choose your activities based on whether or not there's going to be drugs and alcohol there. And, like, not being able to do events with people without being high, or without there being availability of things there, and always needing to get something from it. And showing up is the concept of doing something selflessly, because it's for somebody else, and it's not because of what you can get from it. And I think that started actually before I stopped drinking. My brother is kind of estranged from my immediate family, and my mom took it really hard. And I went down to Maryland for a summer, and I spent time with her, and I was a friend. And that's when my mother and I started growing into the friends we are now, where I call her and we chit chat and we talk about family gossip and like, then we get into a little bit sometimes into emotions, and like I'm learning so much more about my mom, and it's something I've always wanted, and I didn't get that by forcing it. I'm gonna get emotional because I'm really happy with where I'm at with my parents, and I'm just so grateful. I owe it to sobriety. Like I couldn't do it before, and I don't know. I just keep showing up with love and as myself, and maybe, and this is the biggest radical acceptance piece. Maybe I'll go my whole life without hearing exactly the words I want to hear from my parents about this huge thing that's happening in my life. Um, but that's okay. Like that's okay. Um, it is what it is. Like that, if that's what's gonna happen, that will be what happens. And it'll be hard, but I still love them, and I'll still continue to show up. Like, because that's the right thing to do. And you know, it's not like they cut me out. Like if somebody disowned me over this crap, it would be totally different. But they're just reserved about these things. Um, I don't know. I just know a lot of trans people obviously have very very terse relationship with parents and with family, and it's hard. But my biggest advice is to just keep showing up with love. Keep just unless you're hurt, unless it's like an abusive situation, then like obviously if you have like a healthy relationship with parents or like non-abusive, just keep showing up with love. Um, just calmly educate when it's necessary. Don't force conversations on them. Let the relationship happen organically. Let it grow into what it needs to be. I never saw my mom being the friends we are today, where we're travel buddies, and I see myself growing into her in so many ways. Even though I'm like changing my sex, I still see so much of my mother in me, and at the same time that I'm starting to just physically resemble my dad. It's a beautiful experience. It's like, and it's mine, and I'm sure my parents watch these videos, and maybe even that helps. Maybe them just listening, you know. But let things happen organically. Let people. You can't control people. As much as I would like to, as much as I would like to make every person understand that like I'm me and it's okay, it doesn't affect you. Um, I'm not crazy. Lots of people feel this way. Lots of people always have felt this way. It's probably a scientific basis in hormones or chromosomes and the development of the brain in utero that makes me this way. Like it's sometimes you don't even need, like, you can't say anything at all. Like, I don't know. I'm rambling at this point. But I'm gonna go. And best of luck to everybody with all the people in their lives. Just be patient, be loving, and be kind. Those are the things I've learned. I don't always do them. I am impatient. I am unkind. I am rude. I am dominating. I am bossy. I am all of these things very often. But I know the right thing to do is to be loving. So, have a great Monday, everybody. Want to say bye? Bye.